scared Tanner away.
What the hell?
That was such awesome timing. Come on back, Tanner. It's okay. Water's fine.
He's popped in and out a couple times. We got on early. I put it on to make sure my audio, the new system won't recognize earphones with Discord. I got to fix it, and I wasn't sure how this would come through on this, but this is working fine.
Hey, sound clear.
Yeah. We took a gap between these. I've been watching my grandson, and I'm not running a live stream while I have a 3-month-old on my lap. I can't do it. I can't.
Yeah.
I won't do it.
Don't blame me. I honestly thought I was going to miss this show because I have a dentist appointment tomorrow, and I thought it was today, but thankfully it's not, and so I'm here. Yeah, so it's all good. God Wars is good. All my other gaming is good, although I had a lot of sessions where we did nothing. My game included, not this last week, but the week before, where we're making characters and the GM's not really ready to run because not everybody's there, and I'm like, if you've got 75% of the players, you run.
Right.
You don't piddle fart around and just wasted time.
I think it depends on how many people you got in your group and where you left off from the previous session. The only downfall from a cliffhanger is if you lose 2 players before the cliffhanger is resolved. If you ended in town and you're minus 2 players out of, even if you have a small group of 4 and you have 2 players and they want to do a side thing or go at it or scout, but you have 2 don't mean much. But if you're in a cliffhanger and it's all clutch, then you've NPC'd 2 players. No one wants to be killed when they're not there.
Yeah, I won't do that. But if everybody else dies, then everybody dies. But
right, campaign's over.
If you're not there to roll your saving throws and roll your to hits and make decisions, I just you're NPC. Sorry.
Yeah,
got to do it. You knew the job was dangerous when you took it, kind of thing, and that's what you get for not showing up.
I treat it like if 75% of the party plays and they wipe, and the 25% of the party's not present during the wipe, I treat the whole thing as TPK.
Yeah.
We'll just restart. We'll start a new adventure. We'll roll new. Everybody's all in it together.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding that's probably the best way to do it, I'm reminded of Sword World, a Japanese tabletop RPG, which actually had an interesting way of doing this. If a player can't attend, along with their character sheet, they'll put in stats for the character as an NPC. So in case there's a party wipe, while the player was gone, then that character is the sole survivor and can inform the new characters what went down. But then that's also built for, a much more hectic work schedule.
More of a West Marches. Yeah, so you got to be careful though, because once you have wipes and you're bringing characters back in, you risk a death spiral if there's a loss of levels for what you're doing for your campaign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you never know what those missing players might have been able to pull out of their ass, in the way of hits, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Or a good idea. Some players have good ideas occasionally.
Or just maybe they're rolling good, or worse, maybe they're rolling really bad, and it only confirms that this is the end.
I have some guys do that. Their main thing is we'll stack up in the hallway. We'll stack up right in the door, and I'll hold it all. Okay, that means you get all the attacks. If that's what you want to do, you found that cross you wanted to climb on top of.
So every Christmas, whenever you feel bad, you can climb up there and nail yourself to it. This is a very bizarre start for Dragon number 13. Maybe
it's an April Fool's edition too. The fun part. Let me share.
And the first of their monthlies. This wasn't my favorite issue.
Me neither, but it's worth going over. I like the cover. More of the Gardner Fox stories put on the screen. even though it doesn't quite match the description in the text.
Yeah, this is I think a later story, an earlier one, but this is about the time where the art in Dragon's gonna slowly shift from got your buddy from college to draw it into more professional art, which granted I have a soft spot for that get your buddy to draw it, but this is where officially the art's gonna
I mean,
get
I do
good.
dig it. I do like it. It's a good
Oh,
piece of
absolutely.
it's a good piece of art.
Mm, yeah. Then we go on to open it up, and we get Ral Partha's new Galactic Grenadiers and that wonderful Gamma World style helmet, visor, ray gun,
I
You
do
know,
like
tracksuit
I
kind of
actually
look.
have a sealed box of the Galactic Grenadiers game. I've never opened it, and I thought it was from. I could be wrong, but I could have swore it was like 15 mil, not 25. So I'm kind of tempted to open it
Superb.
and see what's in it. But it's been in a box for you know, close to 50 years, so I'm expecting nothing in it is even remotely like a miniature, just piles of rotted lead, dust, and crap. So, yeah.
it. Does it rot? It's lead. It might melt.
No, lead does rot.
Really?
Oh, God, yes. Yes, it turns into uh, this black, gritty, coarse, awful, just like powder. Um, it's the
It's
bane of
like
our.
it is similar to carbon, where it's a whore on the periodic table. It might be flaking.
Yeah, it definitely disintegrates over time. And if you store your lead in certain kinds of wood boxes, it accelerates the process to where the horror story is a guy went away to college, came back for the summer, and in that short period of time, his collection was destroyed.
Oh my gosh. I kind of dig the look of it. I mean, I like old Grenadier stuff, even though it's kind of blobby.
Yeah.
I miss
Uh,
it.
well, Raw Partha was a little bit better and less blobby, but they were also thinner and skinnier, so they were more prone to bending and breaking and things like that. Um, I'm glad I know people who've gotten a hold of the molds and now recast them in tin and things like that, so those will last hundreds and hundreds of years versus.
Why we ever not just do it all in tin to begin with? I miss tin foil over aluminum foil. To be honest, it's got better properties. But
Yeah, because it was cheap and you could literally find lead on the ground from wheel weights and things like that, and just do it at home.
here,
Whereas tin, lead and tin both have toxic fumes in the process, but tin I think is worse.
yeah,
More people, could melt at home, kind of thing. And so if you guys are looking for, recasts of certain things, hit me up and I'll hook you up with some guys and they're cheap. Like $3.50 for a mini, versus, you know,
bronze figures, dude. Making them bronze.
I actually have one that's
Heavy.
brass or bronze.
There we
I actually have the master of it. I don't know who made it or what it was, but I've come across some weird little odds and ends in it over the years. Uh, So who knows? Maybe when the shop opens, I'll find some guys to put some things back into production. But I don't
I'm
know.
getting a smelter for my garage. Since my garage is cleared out now, I think I get me a little smelter and melting stuff down.
All right, I'm
Or mine
back.
cast. But if
Second.
I cast it in bronze, I doubt I'd paint it because bronze looks good without being painted.
Yes.
So there's that. Then they have this ad for Spring Rebel, back when you could do big cons in a Legion Hall.
There's still some cons out there. We had
Small
uh,
ones, yeah.
back where I used to live in Orange County. There was a model builders kit convention, whatever you want to call it, as well as some comic books and things like that. Not the big, Wizard World or Gen
I
Con
think,
kind of thing.
I think comic cons are done. I think that's a thing of the past now.
Well, I don't know. I'm hoping I
Pop
can
culture
get
is
to
a
a
comic
few.
book.
There's a few old magazines and things that I'm really looking forward to getting. But now that omnibuses are a big thing, which I'm doing a thing on, That's the way to go, man.
Mhm.
You want the original first 25 issues of Fantastic Four? Okay, $50, hardcover, glossy paper. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Mhm. Definitely check out the Commandi Omnibus
Oh,
with the 800 page
oh,
gorilla because that
Last Boy
one's
on
perfect
Earth, done deal. I've been looking for that.
for Gamma World.
All right. You want to dive into that first article? Are we
Which
ready
one?
for How Heavy Is My Giant?
Uh, sure.
This is a waste of time.
Uh,
I would
no,
just
well,
wait and go, yeah. If we will figure out mass and stuff, then you can't really win against the giant because he can pick you up and snap your neck.
yeah, it's helpful. You know, you know, it's really useful is the last part of this. Absolutely freaking useless when it goes into the
Yeah.
how much is a feldspar golem or a cork golem or come on, I need there's no iron, there's no regular a butter golem. You're kidding me, right?
There's raw iron on here, pound per cubic foot, 480 per cubic foot.
Oh, I must have missed that. I was just looking for regular
Yeah,
iron.
iron goes pure ingot, wrought, cast, and malleable.
Okay, that's better. I must
I
have
mean,
just
yeah,
missed
that would
that.
be kind of handy. And same thing with the footprints. But like chest size and stuff,
It's just one of those spreadsheet guys, those mathematicians, math magicians.
was it?
Nice.
Slump
Uh,
the Orc. They didn't use their new name. They didn't use their real name. Slump the Orc. Did Slump the Orc do other articles? Because I think that is the
It's
first
nice if
time I've seen
you
it.
want to go.
Yeah, you're breaking up bad, Tam. Your internet's crap today.
although it did, this article did give me some humorous ideas, like a rubber golem. I have to do that now. A rubber golem. You know how
What,
much fun
what do
that
you mean
could be?
by rubber? I mean,
It's made out of rubber.
not latex? Okay, great.
I mean, think how funny that could be. You know, the fighter comes up with his plus three vorpal sword and freaking swings on it, and the blade bounces back and hits him in the chin.
I said blunt instruments do no damage from blunt and chance to rebound and injure yourself.
Hmm.
That'd be kind of funny.
Or
Man,
just a
you
creature
know,
made out of rubber. A different construct. Maybe not quite a golem, but a bunch of rubber. Suits of armor sized. Golem constructs. Oh my god, that could be so funny. And then if you give them stretching abilities,
Mr. Fantastic, Mr. Elastic Man.
yeah, I don't know, man. Some of the other ones, glass, that could be really bad.
Glass golems are a thing. They've had stained glass golems from Ravenloft, and
Yep.
they're neat if you have them around something like an illusionist. What do you do with my crystal golems? Well, I cast my color spray into my quartz golem, who is immune to spells but diffracts it through the whole room. So I turn my color spray into a 50 by 50 attack.
What's up, Eldrad? Where the fuck you been, man? You're so lagging. I have not seen you in I don't know how long.
I lost my other screen. We'll give Tanner another minute, man. I think he's having bad internet problems today. And I'll mute that.
But yeah, a lot of this was just showing off somebody's math skills and
Right.
did the work. They're like, okay, fine. I'm sure it was started by some like crazy argument, at the table, and the player's like, fine, I'll show you, and I'm going to do the math.
Yeah,
But
I might use the cubic foot, pound per cubic foot for reference, but still for transporting trade goods and stuff. But I don't know. stand by my belief that when you go into too much simulation, you suck all the fun out of the game and you turn it into something completely different.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the simulation mindset, uh, because that tends to also completely stamp out all of the fantastic,
Yeah.
all of the impossible, and the crazy stuff that we read fantasy and science fiction to begin with. You have to be very, very good at suspending your disbelief.
Oh, I just now figured out how to do the chat thing so I can see the chat through Restream instead of having multiple tabs open.
Gotcha.
I'm challenged. Now, Kuntz from the Sorcerer's Scroll, I've always found from the Sorcerer's Scroll to be the best insight into the early thinkings of people. Because they talk about their issues, right? With the game and with legal problems and with the evolution of the hobby. It's all right there.
Yeah.
And it's going on about the Tolkien argument, which is
Yeah, I tend to, like to leave literature as literature and fantasy role playing as fantasy role playing.
I know, but you're it is an appendix. The appendix in is the influence, right? So it does catch it right there, right? So it does say that Howard, Lieber, and DeCamp and Fletcher Pratt are much better than most of Tolkien's work as what D&D was made for.
Yes.
From the minds, it's from the mouths of people who wrote the game originally, right? So you can say we like Tolkien, but we really leaned heavy on this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
not so much Tolkien. Now, they could be saying that to, please don't sue us again.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit of everything. Like for me, one of my biggest, absolute number one pet peeve when it comes to any of the OSR retro clone games is the reason I loved AD&D at the beginning was the exact, precise, perfect way the Ranger was done. I know a lot of people hate the AD&D Ranger with all the bells and whistles tacked on, but that's why I wanted to play the Ranger. Is
Yeah.
because you could do all this other stuff. If you ever made it past 8th level, you got magic user spells.
I
People are like, why
think
can't get magic user spells? Why not? Who cares? Just
I think druid spells make more sense.
Sure, but they got both. They got druid and magic user spells, and to me, that just made it more fantastic and more of like your own world reasons why they got them. Not because it made sense, because it's just the opposite. It didn't make sense why Aragorn could use a crystal ball, the Palantir, but other people couldn't because he had maybe special blood or whatever. Okay, great. Okay, we're gonna roll with something like that, and now your magic user can use the amulet of ESP. He can use a crystal ball. He can use a mirror of mental prowess. Oh, and he can cast first level spells, which means someday he's going to get himself a familiar, and then he's going to have the druid ability to communicate with the animals and have his followers whenever he builds a keep. It just made it more unique as opposed to more realistic.
Mm.
So and for me, that was like, oh my god, this ranger is Aragorn. He's got all this stuff like Aragorn had, versus he's a ranger, but he's pretty much just a tracker and a woodsman and rather mundane if you think about it. Like with the characters like Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett, and Robin Hood, some historical, some not. That's all they were. They were just rangers. Okay, cool, and they never made it to 8th level. Right?
Let's not conflate the real world with the fantasy world. Okay. Daniel Boone, Kit Carson, and such are real people in the real world. Aragon is a fictional guy in a fantasy world. And I get that we want to make our game more like a fantasy.
Sure.
Like I said, if you make it too much like the real world, it kind of sucks the fun out of it.
Okay, what do you think about Robin Hood? Real or not?
Probably, a figure of reality? I'd say based upon a real bandit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever read Robin Hood?
Huh?
Did you ever read Robin Hood?
The original? Probably in high school.
Okay, I've got 2 different copies from two different authors, and they both end in the same horrific way. So if you're a fan of Robin Hood, don't read the end. Just saying.
The man always wins. It's like
Not
people talk about Braveheart. People talk about how Braveheart failed, how William Wallace died, drawn and cornered and gelded. Yeah, sucks.
Yeah.
Tanner's having terrible luck today. He's probably going to have a conversation. I'm keeping an eye on the little side thing there, but I'm real slow about that. So. But, and then probably one of the. Did you want to go on about Tolkien and Dungeons and Dragons? Do you think we covered?
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to go Tolkien so much as the other authors that he's mentioning that I think absolutely were just they were so overlooked because of the success of Tolkien versus the success of Burroughs and Lieber and the other authors mentioned, whose stories were maybe not you can draw, I think, a lot more parallels to Tolkien and D&D than you can from Conan or Grey Mouser and Fafford, but they still have their place. There's the Thief, as far as I'm concerned, was pulled entirely,
Yeah.
maybe 25% Conan, 75% Grey Mouser.
Yeah, more Mauser. I think they. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Pratt, though, Pratt's probably the weak link on what he quoted here. He's the Face in the Frost, right? Or was that? No, that was someone else.
Yeah, but
Pratt
still, I can't. I as much as I've read, I can't think of anything that I could go. Oh, that was his influence right here and there. Whereas like Burroughs, you look in the white box and you find Martians and things like that right out of John Carter, like verbatim. Here you go. Okay, well, and then it was quickly just forgotten about from White Box to AD&D, which I think was a shame. I think they tried bringing some of that stuff back here and there in very specialized modules, but that to me, it's like I'm Gonzo. Throw it all in and see what happens. I don't care.
All right. Now I've read a few of Pratt's novels, a few of them. Okay.
So there's Bionic Supplement. Why is it so small, Mommy? Shit, because it's transistorized. God, there's such a bad joke if you just change one word in there. But I'm
It's a D&D dad joke.
Yeah, they really could have gone so much deeper. Pardon the other pun there. With this article on bionics, instead of this tiny little, like, ridiculously small article. I mean, if you're going to go,
that was we need a piece of article where an advert should go.
Yep, somebody pulled out at the last minute. Oh, and they had to fill the space with something else.
I mean, it's a quick chart though. Gives you basic with one arm, add strength, gives you extra hit points for each bionic supplement.
But the last one doesn't make sense. Torso, you got a bionic torso,
Yeah, well,
and you get for the bionic torso you get plus 30 hit points. Okay, cool, but you get -2 to hit for both player and his opponents. Why would you get a -2 to hit? Because your torso is now made out of adamantium.
maybe because your limbs don't respawn fast enough.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb. I think they were trying to well, this is the biggest one. Yeah, you're back. Here's the biggest bonus.
Okay.
For hit points and stuff. We better balance it out. No, you got a bionic freaking torso. You got like a bulletproof chest and shit. Sucks to be your enemies, doesn't it?
You also got a robotic pancreas and appendix and stomach, so you should be able to eat different nutrients, maybe not be poisoned as easily.
Yeah.
Personally, this is probably one of the
Actually, it reminds me more of what you would do for if you want to do bionic man, bionic woman.
Yeah, that's
Can you
definitely
turn
what it's
Tanner's
there
volume
for.
up?
My volume.
I just did.
Well, was that show even on the air at this time? I don't recall.
78 Bionic Man should have been.
Okay.
Maybe. Let me double check.
Oh,
Excuse me.
absolutely, that's what it's calling on. Maybe even earlier. But this is actually one of the only Metamorphosis Alpha Dragon Magazine articles I would not use, and not just for the problems you've pointed out, but for me, something like Metamorphosis Alpha and Gamma World is sort of that pre-cyberpunk computer fills up a room, Chrome style of science fiction. And yes, there were robots and cyborgs and stuff like that there, but for me,
Wasn't
the
really.
mutations are plenty. Putting on like mechanical limbs and putting in like a robotic stomach is a bit invasive of that in my eyes.
I don't
I,
know.
I could see it where it's the solution to avoid a death.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, like
if
someone
you
uploading their brain to a
Cut off.
computer, that's not really a problem in my mind. But it's just doesn't quite feel right to me.
Well, if you got high
Um,
fantasy mixed in with high tech, then you're going to have robotic stuff. So eventually,
yeah,
you're going to cut off.
oh
and
yeah,
there, there's several of the Gamma World modules where you, in fact, are fighting against or with or alongside uh, literal
which I just
cyborgs.
said. I don't mind. I don't mind the robot part. I understand that's part of the genre. Just
You're fading,
Yeah.
Tanner.
Fading.
We got like 1 out of 3 words in that conversation.
Yeah, your internet's bad today. Damn you, Trudeau.
So, random demon generation.
Well, I mean, they are demons, so it should be kind of random. It's a pretty good list, right? I'm more of a guy pick and choose unless you can't have an idea. You don't have a theme for your demon, then roll random. I do find it handy though.
I gotta say, I wish they would have put this picture in the monster manual. This is a really good. I mean, ugly
Yeah,
picture,
I've seen that one before in other places too.
but it would have been a nice intro image for the demons. Have like one catch all picture. Uh, but this article would eventually find its way into the Dungeon Master's Guide in the appendixes for randomly
Yeah,
generating demons, which you can easily just use to randomly generate monsters as well. So very useful at the time. Now I'll just pull out the DMG, which has a more refined version of this chart. But it's nice to see that they were at least, thinking ahead for, sort of codifying, what you can and can't, find normally in demons, except for those special occasions, obviously. Um, but it also kind of limits it after a while. Your players get a hold of this article and they're like, oh, okay, by, you know, process of elimination, they can figure out what they're dealing with and what it might or might not have left up its sleeve, kind of thing. So I kind of don't like it in that respect that players can and will,
players always find a way.
yeah. There really is something to that that whole idea, that notion of get your ass out of the DMG if you're not a DM. It really will in the long run spoil a lot of surprises and the feel of the game. You have a DMG, okay, you're a dungeon master now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, neither did I when I started. Welcome to the club.
you learn by playing. You learn by doing, and sometimes a lot of that's failure. We make mistakes and bad moves and bad judgment calls as DM, and you
Yep.
learn from them. I've made the same mistakes a couple times, and just because, like, well, maybe this time will be different. No,
Yeah, yeah.
people aren't.
We don't have the
It's,
luxury Graham Bell did, being able to make the different 10,000 mistakes to get it right. We've got a much sharper learning curve. But it
let's
was it
see.
was helpful, and I got absolutely nothing from it because Uh,
I tend to design. I tend to design and assign
yeah,
abilities. If I was like, I want to give him a random ability, I would roll. But there's some here that don't make sense for a demon, like create food.
yeah,
But some of the funner ones, like projected image with the demon, is devastating because you can project your at will abilities and innate powers through that image. And mirror image a couple times a day. Demons who can mirror image and stuff. Telekinesis is always
oh
a good
yeah,
solid one. Telekinesis should be like one all demons
yeah.
have. It's a
It's
spell
it's
is very
so
powerful.
underrated and so underused. I think because people got tired of seeing it in Star Wars, you know, that they just stopped using it. But oh my God, I I, I, I used it recently on a group where the bad guy was using the telekinesis to push forward large numbers of things at the group, and they didn't realize what was happening, and it just made it bad for both people. I learned a little bit there, but at the same time, it gave them it gave a sort of ominous sense of being overwhelmed by more than what they were actually dealing with.
Yeah.
Now this Valiant Miniatures Heritage thing, I learned something. I didn't know Heritage was doing any work for Valiant, but I'm seeing these Spanish Main and Fighting Sail. I'm a huge fan of the old Man of War game by Games Workshop, and I never knew these
Yeah.
models existed. I have the Stardate 3000, all of them, somewhere, but I never knew that there were lead sailing ship models that now I
Oh,
have to go
yeah.
look for. I'll probably never.
Dude, a lot of my local guys who war game are huge historical guys. The one they're doing now is Black Powder, and they're doing a French and Indian War campaign. And I think the place they're doing it at's an hour from my house on
Oh man,
Tuesdays.
sales
So
are
I
metal
might.
too. Oh, that's awesome. Um,
Did you see the Star Date? The Star Date 3000? That kind of looks like a Sapphire
I actually
Cruiser.
have all those. I have the box set and a bunch of those bagged minis from all the way back in the day. Never had a chance to use them.
With the Sapphire or the Star Date
Both.
3000s? Oh, man, that's
I
nice.
actually I've got a sealed box of either the Sathar or the Federation ships, and I've got the Stardate 3000 box set, and or am I thinking the Grenadier one? I know I have some Stardate 3000 Ziploc baggied miniatures, but those sailing ships look freaking tight. They would be great if I ever got some people wanting to play. Don't give up the ship.
2000 scale. Yeah, have fun with that, bud.
I,
Um, yeah, you got to find some old farts wanting to do fighting sail ships,
I
dude. That
know, I know.
is, and it takes so long compared to other war games. It is a little bit more plotting, isn't it?
Well, that's why Man of War was so good. You could play a great Man of War game in 2 hours and get your fix. To the point where I had this buddy of mine. We would play like two, three, 4 games a day. Just quickly redo the terrain, switch sides, or pull out different fleets. And then I made the dumb mistake of selling it all, and I'll
Yeah.
never get it back. Not in, not
Yeah.
now.
I'm thinking about doing some war gaming, but like I said, my guys that do it, they're kind of fickle and cliquish, so I don't get invited until like the last minute. I'm like, and I don't paint miniatures like I used to, so my discretionary funds have shrank. The more grandkids I get, the
Yeah.
less discretionary funds.
And these other 4 games, I've never heard of any of them. Flat top.
Flat for that. Alpha Omega, kind of. It sounds familiar. Viva Hispana, no, that's a very niche
That would
game,
be
I
right up
guess.
Jackie's alley. As a matter of fact, a friend of ours, I don't know if you can see this, sent him these Spanish Civil War minis that are actually metal.
Civil War is kind of fun because the fascists are technically the
Yeah,
good
yeah,
guys.
he's all into this, and friends sent him that. The same guy sent him a patch and a badge or a pin from a guy's uniform who's kind of a big deal. Uh, so being a YouTuber kind of pays off
the,
eventually.
the the Spanish Civil War was where they really tested out a lot of the toys that got to be used later on.
Yeah.
And the Lincoln Brigades, let's be honest, were a bunch of fucking communists. we would have been much better if there were no survivors of our Lincoln Brigades that went over there as a nation.
Yep.
Unpopular opinion. Hemingway was a commie douchebag. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the D&D variant, the Japanese mythos.
Yeah, can we skip that? It sucked.
I have no use for it. I have no use for it.
And you know what? This is much larger than what made it into the deities and demigods.
It is.
So if you want a more complete list of deities and heroes and creatures than what you got from World Adventures and these demigods, issue number 13, there's a bunch.
Well, not only that, but if you needed more stuff for your Oriental Adventures campaign, which I still wouldn't use this, I'd make all my own stuff up. There's not enough information. It looks like there's a lot of info, but there really isn't. It's like the barest of minimums.
Right.
It would only benefit, true weebs who already know this shit. You know what I mean?
If you're going to plants the seed. Or if you don't know a lot, it opens up avenues that you can go down that Google rabbit hole for your research.
I suppose. But I will never use it. And moving right along, Fortress of Madagascar. I'm looking forward to reading that.
I was going to ask you if you had that.
I do, but it's in the Judges Guild Deluxe Edition. That big giant freaking, ancient tome from Goodman Games before they turned batshit crazy, and I'm looking forward to finish reading that. But that's a topic for a whole nother thing.
I get you. Yeah, I need to get me another copy of the City State. I used to have an old copy. I've lost most of my stuff, dude. My TSR till 1989. It's all gone.
Right now, I picked up a copy, but from Mayfair Games for like almost nothing, because it's not one of the other companies, and it's chock full of all kinds of books and pamphlets and maps. But trying to get an original, you're going to pay out the ass because of the hype right now. I'm a
PDF guy, dude. I don't need. I'm actually playing in a table game again. I joined my local old friends because they were running Dragon Slayer, so I jumped in the table, and on Sunday evenings, because I'm doing a table game again as a player.
Nice. I wish I could do that, but I don't let people in my house, so that's never going to happen here. And
VTT on Mondays and Thursdays. Just saying.
But if I got invited somewhere, and since I don't drive, it's not going to happen until I get to Texas.
I'm trying to get out of the house more starting this year, and I might start wargaming a bit more. And I go to my buddy's house and play Dragon Slayer on Sundays.
I just I fixed the couple of bikes we had, put inner tubes in them. I'm going to be getting out as well. But, I don't care how many D&D T-shirts I wear during the summer. I ain't going to bump into any D&D players that aren't playing 5e in my neck of the woods.
I do. And then I take that time, just like an opportunity to cross-kill someone, I OSR kill people. So, like, what game is that? I got copied on Dragon Slayer for the artwork by Metalhead at Wally World. And I was like, oh, it's the game I play. He goes, what game's that? I said, I'm glad you asked, brother. Dragon Slayer RPG by Greg Gillespie. And you know what? Remember how we used to play AD&D back in the day? It's kind of like that. You should check it out. Oh, I think I might. You do that.
Yeah, I'm more likely to bump into 40K players in where we live. I bumped into all of one D&D player, but he was half my age, working at Burger King, so I didn't pursue the conversation.
So you could have started an extra on the path, the righteous path to the AD&D old way of doing things.
No. His the way he presented himself, the way he looked, I no.
So you gotta fix that too. He goes, I'm saying we play old school D&D, manly D&D, not faggot 5e D&D. Have a nice day.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I definitely have to use words such as that to get my point
Dude,
across.
I find being crass keeps all the weak, emotional cripples at arm's length. I mean, it really bothers my wife. She says I
Hmm.
shouldn't talk like that in public. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, it's not so much the wife; it's more the boy. He's very prim and proper, and with his
I
friends,
feel grounding down, yeah.
I have this horrible habit that I don't really consider a horrible habit. You know who Salty Cracker is, right?
Yeah.
Well, I will pull up his live stream and play it while I'm shopping on my phone. And
With InfoWars, man, it makes people go crazy.
I should do that too, but Salty just lightens my step and makes me laugh. Uh, versus Alex makes me makes me worry for the guy himself. He if I found out he was possessed partially by some demon, it wouldn't surprise me the way he goes off on some things. I had to stop watching it because it was scaring Jack. But I'll walk through stores, listening to Salty Cracker and Jackie. As soon as we get into the store, he like disappears. Like I don't know that guy.
Ah, it's funny. I take it as an opportunity. I'm the one that talks to people when we're out, and the wife
Same
doesn't.
here.
I'll talk to
Same
anybody.
here.
I'm like,
So,
okay, we won't go down this. I was in the line at Walmart. Asked the lady, I was like, "You seriously want to talk politics right here, right now?" Sure.
hmm Yeah, he
The next article. What about?
Well, I wanted to talk a minute about All the World's Monsters Volume Two. Steve Perrin went on to do some stuff. I don't know who Jeff Pimper is, but for God's sake, for the love of all things, why would you not change your name as soon as 1978 rolled around?
No, Jeff Pippers is a great name. I dig it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I got a cool ass name. He did a lot of
Well,
campaigns.
I guess for me it's different. My little brother, who I haven't talked to in 30 years, that's what he did for a living, or partially, and that's why he's going to be spending the next 400 years in jail. So I hear that word, and I just
400 years? That's a lot of counts of prostitution. You
it was more
got human
meth.
trafficking in there.
It was more meth.
Man, crank! So we
Yeah,
are crank!
but I want to get a copy, or at least see a PDF of this.
Yeah,
One
I'm good research.
one and two, just to see if it's something I would like to have a hard copy, because from what I've seen of the hard copies, they were Albany, California. They were like not even books. They were just like Ziploc
Pamphlet.
bags full of construction paper, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah. Zines that fell apart. I mean, pamphlets.
No, no, they weren't even books in the first place, or maybe they were. I don't. It was just like and like red construction paper. Like
They weren't bound.
it didn't look like it.
Oh, wow.
But
Made to
if
go with
anybody's
your
got a PDF, send it my way so I can get an idea of what we're talking about. Archive miniatures, I have that miniature in my collection. I wish I had that bird thing, but I've got the lizard, dragon newt, and that's not Dracula and Vampire Woman. That is Dracula and Vampirella in one of her most iconic poses. Although the hands should be up raised a little higher with the bat, but I've got both of those, and I think a couple extras of Vampirella.
It's kind of cool.
Okay, this next thing, monster drinking songs and shit, just
Awesome. At least they admit they read Mad Magazine. I have much more respect for Kuntz, knowing that he actually read Mad Magazine back in the day. I dig that. I love Mad and Cracked. This is the kind of stuff. If you're playing a bard, you got to sing. You got to pull it out and sing.
and yeah. Thanks for reminding me. I've got to go deep dive into Mad Magazine. Crack, not so much, but especially the old stuff, not the black and white, but when it started out in color. Oh my God, those were freaking amazing. Do you
Yeah.
remember the Mad magazines in our day that would come with the little mini color comic book inside?
Not so much. Not so much.
Oh, they were like these special issues that would be a regular Mad magazine, but
I remember some of them.
inside it would have one like a reprint, but like a little bit smaller of the original color Mad comic books, which were fucking gonzo crazy,
Yeah.
drug fueled freaking hippie magazines that you've absolutely got to get a hold of one of these days. Just one of them.
They were
Just like
very counterculture, subversive, some might say, but I loved it.
the
It was fun of
one of my,
everything.
one of
See,
my favorites was the there was a story in one of the color ones called Hound of the Basketballs, a Sherlock Holmes parody. It's just freaking so way out there, man. If you like the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers, this was right up your alley, and this was before I knew what that was. But man, I've absolutely got to pull some of those, excuse me, into my collection. Now, did it strike you odd that the songs that are in this article are even old compared to this magazine's
yeah,
day?
somebody you could feed this into an AI to make this a jingle.
By the light of the silvery moon. I haven't heard that since like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. You
Yeah,
know, Rosin the Bow, vaguely. Good night,
traffic
Irene.
drinking song. Yeah, these should be fed into an AI. They really should to be made
Yeah,
into music. I don't know how to do that stuff, but I mean, I guess it should be a big deal.
a long way to Tipperary. Holy crap! How old were these guys when they were writing this magazine? That's
They
like
were
out of what, World War I, World War II.
they were in their 30s and 40s, bud. They were in their 30s and 40s when they made this game.
Farmer in the Dell, March to Peoria, or Pretoria, excuse me, Peoria. That's funny. Yeah, I'm sure it would only take about 5 minutes to turn any one of these into an AI song,
Should do it.
and it would be great. That's the scary part. Uh,
Yeah, but if you have players who insist on playing bards, Dragon Slayer has a feature that for clerics, when you turn undead, they have to say their catchphrase for turning undead. They have to think one up to minimal roleplay by like
that's awesome. That's
by
awesome.
your frosty balls, I'll make you flee or something, right?
I was thinking the old Doc Strange comic book, by the Crimson something of Cyttorak and the Eye of Agamotto and all those things that
Yeah.
he would, call upon as magic items, literally, which were apparently actually more like sentient artifacts, which made him even more powerful in a D&D
Yeah.
sense. Guys running around with like half a dozen freaking artifact level magic items.
He
Oh,
is the sorcerer
and
supreme. He is the sorcerer supreme. I thought you liked high level magic campaigns.
no, I absolutely do. But thinking of how powerful he would be in like a D&D or Palladium or whatever game that you could do that kind of stuff, it's just like that's pretty badass.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but make your bard sing. If someone wants to play bard, make them uncomfortable, make them sing. I hate bard.
I, I I I like the old AD&D Bard because it makes them work up to it, so they really actually they don't just fall into the stereotypical deer stalker version of the metrosexual bang anything and that's all they're interested in doing kind of bard where they have to be a fighter, then they have to be a thief, and they
Or
become
like a skull. Yeah. I think
and,
and the role should be if you want any of your characters to be a bard, pick up a musical instrument or pick up oratory and RP the shit out of that. Remember that it's an RP game.
yeah.
You don't need the bells and whistles and the extra perks. You don't. I just don't. That's one thing that sold me on Dragon Slayer. No bard. It's like, you love it. I'm still upset there's gnomes.
Okay, you just cut out for a minute. You just cut out for a minute.
And you just echoed.
That's weird. And
And it's crappy.
I'm looking at this Grenadier ad. I've literally had almost every single thing on that page at one time or another. There's only two things I never had. That was the whatever the hell that is next to the elephant.
You mean the Elythian or the cannon?
I think it's a cannon.
Okay, on the right hand side, yeah. On the other side, I actually had that.
I don't know what the hell that is, but I want one now. Um, I had. Did you see that wizard set?
Dude,
I've had.
that's a Roman scorpion crossbow.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like a weird robot dabbing.
I mean, it could be, but it kind of, from my angle, it looks like a scorpion because it's got the box toward the front, and the
Yeah,
Romans had a box on front of the where the prow was for the bow.
and you see that wizard set down below with the table and the bookshelf.
Mm-hmm.
I have literally bought and sold that set 10 times over.
I've seen that.
It's a nice little set. It was really really cool, and it's really sought after because it's got all kinds of cool little bells and whistles right there. Although it doesn't show the cauldron with the weird thing coming out of it.
Ah,
Uh,
the
Maybe
smoke.
that was a later edition, but God, I miss those days.
Yeah, they had a bunch of scene ones Grenadier did. I actually liked them. I had a few, the graveyard scene and the altar and the portal stuff. Anything that was crypty or wizardly, I grabbed it.
Yeah, yep. And now this article on Warlord. I don't know what the hell Warlord is, so I
It was
just
board game that failed because it had so many flaws. They really put their errata in Dragon Magazine. This is trying to help someone who screwed up, I think.
okay because I don't know I don't even remember the game.
No, I don't recognize it, but you know, it's by 1977 by Robert Williams. Cask was kind of a war gamer, so I mean, an obscure war game from 1977 that wasn't Avalon Hill. Yeah. So
I mean, I might very well have that game in my collection and just not know it. I'll have to go look when I'm going to do a complete once over for the garage and organize stuff and start putting stuff in plastic tubs for the move to Texas.
when you get to Texas, you have to drive, dude. Texas is big. There ain't nothing close.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, it's big.
that's
What
why
part you going to?
real soon. Pardon?
Yeah, 80% of Texas is just wide open. No one lives there.
Yeah, I
20,
know. That's
Texas is where everyone lives. And in the 80% Texas towards West Texas and the plains are vast. I'm talking 60 to 75 miles to get to the next damn town.
I know. I know.
It's crazy.
I like that idea. Or being in a nice little small town where most of my business is mail order. I'm okay with
You
that.
still have to go to East Texas because if you go to West Texas, there will be literally no one to come to your store because you'll be in the middle of nowhere. A buddy of mine worked at a he's a travel RN for psychiatrics, and he was at a place out there, and he said it was like 30 miles from the facility to a town. He was there after they got crushed by the feds, where they had the retard fights, where they were streaming it online.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, he said the most people who were most upset that they didn't have those fights anymore were the patients. That all these mentally disabled guys were like, they missed the days of the fight pit. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking at somewhere in between Temple and Denton,
Okay.
uh, kind of close to the Reaper Factory. Within like a half hour, an hour of the Reaper Factory, as well as where my friends Brian and Omenau live.
Have you checked to see how many other gaming stores are in that area since it's so close to the Reaper area?
Yeah, that's one of the things I plan on doing when I get out there.
Yeah.
Is just
You did a Google search. It's like Fort Wayne, Indiana has a ridiculous amount of hobby shops because that's where the distributor for a lot of the war gamings and the gaming stuff is in Fort Wayne. So there's like a ton of them right there, and a big federal prison. So.
well, that's but yeah, I got to get the fuck out of here. Newsom is going insane with the laws that keep popping up that infringe on all of our rights that really should be a huge issue, but yet they're too busy worrying about a pipe bomb from a couple of years ago. I don't give a fuck.
Distraction, dude. Distractions.
Yeah, I know.
Did you
But
read the
I
Stolen
used to.
Sacrifice?
Pardon?
Did you read the Stolen Sacrifice?
Of course not.
Okay.
Did you?
Yes, I actually enjoyed it, but quite honestly, it's not much different than the previous Gardner Fox book story. It has the same. It's got the same plot line, except it just got different stand-ins for the villains.
Really?
The chick from the sword, or the wizard just comes and saves his ass again. There is a happy ending with the slave girl marrying the king and stuff, but it's kind of like reading a damn Stephen King novel. Once you read 3 of them, you've read them all.
Right.
So
I did notice his name in was it? I think it was one of the first 5 or 6 issues of Creepy Magazine that I just reviewed. Excuse me, or maybe Vampirella, or something recently. So the guy got around. He did a lot of stuff in the '70s, but then he just sort of disappeared. Maybe that was, his 15 minutes of fame, if you will. But then
he's been writing since the 40s, though, hadn't he? Gardner Fox was not young.
He's probably not even alive if that's the case.
1911 to 1986. Yeah, he died mid 80s. He was born in 1911, so yeah, he was old in the 70s.
Okay, that's why.
He died at 75, so he was in his 60s writing this stuff.
He had a good long
writing all this stuff.
Good for him.
Sorry. You were saying I'm cutting each other off.
Oh, he had a good long run. I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he probably played a lot of D&D back in the day as well.
That'd be kind of interesting because he'd be like a 60-some-year-old man playing D&D with the 30 and 40-year-old people who designed the game, plus the children in the neighborhood that gamed, right? I think in the past we had a broader range of ages at the original tables than we do now.
Oh yeah, when I was working at the game store, I was 14 years old, and I would fill a table at the game shop of every age imaginable. From my age, a little bit younger, to people 3-4 times my age would come and sit down at the table, and I don't see that anymore, and I wouldn't want to,
Yeah, I went to the local game store that seems to be the most successful are doing a con, but they're mainly a card store. And when I went in there to get some wargaming terrain stuff, they didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I was too long in the tooth. They want you to get battle mats. So I'm like, no, I need something bigger. I got to build something bigger. And they have people with the ears and the fake tails and stuff walking around. I'm like, I'll pass. I don't want to make anyone cry today.
Yeah.
Some other day.
Yeah, that's one of the only things I'm worried about, especially in certain parts of Texas, like Austin.
Austin. That's what I got to worry about. But yeah, I thought about signing up for GoBoCon to run Savage Swords or a Red Room product or Dragon Slayer. And then the thought of it made me exhausted dealing with people half my age. It just made me feel exhausted thinking about it. So I'm like, because I did go to their store and run Barrel Maze with Labyrinth several times and just couldn't get anybody interested in old school play. They literally told me, oh, it's not 5e, and they started a 5e game. They saw me trying to run Labyrinth and said that all it inspired them to do was call people up and have them come in and sit across from me and play 5e. So it is what it is.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I could put up some signs and some posters and some flags and things like that will be sure to deter that kind of a customer base if I'm lucky. But who knows?
As a merchant, though, you got to appeal to that broad base for success. Unless you can get a good solid. If you get a good solid wargaming group in there, they tend to lean conservative anyway.
Yeah.
especially historicals.
Yeah.
Comics. We haven't got Tanner here to get super excited about the comic, but another Phineas and Ferb, which is always a treat.
Yeah, I picked up the Phineas Treasury a couple months back because of this, and because my copy disappeared into Jackie's room somewhere. And even though it didn't have a cover when I handed it to him, I know he never read a single page. So I picked up another copy. It wasn't that expensive,
Yeah.
like $10, and I read through it again. It was fantastic. It's a shame and surprising that it didn't go a lot farther, you know. But maybe the guy's military career or what have you got in the way, or something else. But I don't know whatever happened to what was his name again? Oh, JD. Uh, never, as far as I know, never heard from him again. Obviously, Wormy just what can I say? It was one of the better strips they ever had.
I do like it. And the Wormy, I think the Wormy too. Do you think we're missing that kind of humor in the hobby? Everybody's so serious. Either they're gonzo, but they don't do comics and stuff. The Red Room tried to do a comic run. I think it's still going. But everyone else is so serious. They want to take the hobby so seriously. And I'm like,
I think we would hate what would come about if people started going back to this sort of thing, the virtue signaling and the modern sensibilities.
true. I think there's plenty of room for everybody to do their own thing. But I'm pretty sure a lot of it would be stuff I just detested. Be like, this is degenerate trash.
That's why that's why pulps and comics and other things from the good old days are finding resurgence and still have a steady uh, but declining audience of diehards.
Well, I think there's opportunity. I think the Zoomers might do, but I think they might go a little bit prudish quick. There's a funny one. It's a good one. I think it's funny about barbecue dwarf burgers. How much do you delve into your monsters in your game eating what they get their hands on of your party members? I typically have the party members, if they get killed and they don't go back, or they go back like a day or two later, they may find their half-eaten remains of their party members or their previous characters.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think they're going to do with the bodies? They're going to eat it. It's meat, baby.
Yeah, or somebody's wearing their face.
They're wearing I've done that in Stonehell. Hireling faces on the lunatic level.
Yeah, it's we can't really find this kind of humor and just not giving an F attitude about things that we used to. It's
Yeah, like I said, everybody's super serious, or they're pushing an agenda instead of just like, let's let loose. If you actually made a cartoon of what your D&D table was actually like, people would have a blast. You'd be like, what, are you guys idiots? Yeah, we're retarded.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, did you read James Ward's notes from a semi-successful D&D player?
Well, before that, we got the creature feature contests.
Yeah.
They really should have given these people a little bit more time in the sun. Like, okay, what did they do to win?
Yeah, you don't see the final product. You don't see the name they gave or the painted image. You don't see any of that. So
you get the name, like the Jarn Kung and the Ulik, the Cursed Crimson Crawler. I want to see that. What the hell is a Cursed Crimson Crawler? I'm going to make one up now. I don't know who you are, Mr. Thomas and Edward McLeod. Okay, that sounds kind of weird. I guess maybe they were brothers. I hope.
There's also a little tidbit from the Bleak Shore by Fritz Lieber. It's like was that a misprint? Looks like that story's not listed in this damn magazine. and it looks like the epilogue. Is it the epilogue from a previous issue?
Where is that?
Right under the creature feature contest from the bleak shore, copyright Fritz Lieber. For the flat landscape that spread out before them was without sign of life. In front of them, the basalt dripped to form a large hollow of black sand, tiny particles of iron ore. In the sand were half embedded more than 2 score what seemed to be to the gray Mauser to be inky black, oval boulders of various sizes.
Now, what page is that on?
Page 21. It seems out of place. There's like 3 paragraphs of Fritz Lieber where it's not in the index. It's just random.
Oh yeah. Oh.
I kind of love it. I would like to find more fiction like that, like 1-page fiction. It's setting a scene, but I don't. But it seems like it would fit into that last story they had 2 issues ago, where they was on the island, like from one island to another, which would actually work well with your naval campaign you got.
Yeah, I don't know. I totally missed that because I just thought it was part of the story I wasn't going to read anyways. But we do need this notes from a semi-successful D&D player. This should have been like a whole book of this, tips.
Yeah, I'll agree with some of them. I mean, that's a lot of con points being wasted with permanency. I'm just saying. Unless he's using a magic jar.
Well, there was only a 5% chance, so I could see someone getting away with 15 different permanency spells before losing a con point.
That's why you use magic jar and make Todd the torchbearer lose a constitution point.
Todd the torchbearer, nice.
We'll do a favor. You do a favor for me, Todd? You want to earn 10 gold pieces? Let me jump in your body. He's already charmed, so he says yes, of course. Takes your 5 gold. You jump in, Todd. Cast your permanencies on his body, then jump back in. I feel a little weaker, boss. That sucks. It'll go away.
Yeah, how old are you? Oh, it's just old age hitting you. The same thing happened to me when I hit 21.
Yeah. Yeah, now the idea with the 4th level growth plant spell and plant control potions, I've seen that used to effect. It works. We had a druid who was all about having plant growth and that, and then animating plants, and that was actually really effective, but situationally, because you don't always have, I guess you could throw seeds out and then cast plant growth, right?
Mm-hmm. 10-foot pole, 5-foot rod, all that stuff, seeded done.
A 5-foot steel rod makes more sense to me than a 10-foot pole, because a 10-foot pole is really bulky, and if I'm carrying it and not using it, and you're not in the front rank, you're set up for a constant 3 Stooges knocking people in the head with a big old stick.
Yep. Just you maybe even better have a 6-foot steel staff.
Right. Now I've had sectional 10-foot rods in my campaign, or sectional 12-foot poles that they come apart. So you have 3 sections you take apart with customizable heads. That's about as techy as I want to get in my fantasy games. But you have a hook, prod, shear, or stuff like that to hold 10-foot pole with a hook to hold your lantern up way high. Because I'm always telling my players they're casting shadows. They always get super nervous. You put your torch in the 4th rank. What do you think it was going to do?
Mm-hmm. I've seen the garlic and things like that, and super soakers, and those old timey hand pump fumigators, things like that. The polymorph a critter and then unpolymorph him, throw him into the room first.
I call them people the goldfish.
Yeah, if you're not careful, it starts your character down the path of evil. Because you're now enslaving creatures, etc. Even if they are evil to begin with, the 2 wrongs don't make a right kind of thing. But yeah, there really should have been there should have been like a huge like book of all this. All these tips
Right.
compiled.
And Will brought up a good point. And as a rogue that could use pole arms in Lamentations and a few editions that lets you use any weapon as a rogue, a pole arm satisfies the effect of a 10-foot pole. And you can kill people with it. And it's got a hook on it. And it's got a cleaver. And it's got a hammer. Bill hooks and Bill Gearsome are the best for those. They have all the little extra protrusions on there to get in. So, and you couldn't get those into tight holes, but you can always flip it around and use the other end, right?
Yeah. I'm not even. I wouldn't even be surprised. I should say, if players started creating their own sort of pole arm with all the right, kind of like in that was it Amok Time, the Star Trek episode where Kirk and Spock fought with that stupid weapon.
Yeah, the most retarded weapons were on Star Trek. Remember the Klingon one, the Bakla? I mean, that thing is so awkward.
Yeah. But that Vulcan thing with the pit and the pendulum, scythe blade on one end, and that like upside down bar stool or some shit.
Oh, that was based on a Chinese thing, and that's an actual thing. The Chinese had some retarded looking pole arms, but they actually worked. The most effective being the Naginata. The Naginata was the most effective pole arm that the Asians, well, I'd say the Japanese made. The Chinese, though, made a bunch of stuff that looks totally impractical, that shouldn't work at all. Like he looks
Sword of branches kind of thing, and you ever see the Hunga Munga?
What's that?
Hunga Munga. It's an African weapon. It's this weird, like, just weird throwing handle with like a scythe blade and a bunch of spikes and shit. But apparently, you can throw that thing and it will kill you. It looks ridiculous, but there are people. If you spend the time training to use a shovel as a weapon, you can use a shovel as a weapon.
Of course, it looks ridiculous. It's African, but I'm dying to look at one now.
It's spelled exactly like you think. Hunga Munga.
Hunga Munga weapon. Images. Oh yeah, I've seen that. That's actually something very similar to a Chinese weapon. That looks like it's a derivative of Kahipish. Because Kahipishes, to me, don't think that shouldn't work, but evidently they did very well. An axe sword.
Yeah, it just goes to show you, we as humans will use anything to kill you if the need or desire arises.
Yeah. Especially if you deserve it.
Well, unfortunately, it's more often that they don't deserve it.
It's true. Usually the aggressor has all the wrong reasons.
Hey, before we go, I wanted to ask you about the Red Room's new game, or not really new game, but what was the sorcery sword?
Savage Swords. I really like it. I've not really looked at it in a while. I've been really working on. We've had family issues. I had every day, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. I had an infant, so I've been tied up with that, and all my plans for Savage Swords went back into the queue. I like it. It's a little modern system, mini system that works great for pulp. Makes magic dangerous again, I guess. It's not as effective. The magic system is not as effective as, say, your classic what we're used to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's more in the theme for sword and sorcery. And you really just want to play a fighter anyway. I like it. You really want to play like a fighter type anyway, right?
Yeah.
When you're playing Conan, you don't want to play the cultist. You want to be killing the cultist.
Right.
I like it. I think it's the best thing they've done in a long time. And I like all their stuff. All of it.
Did you ever check out Uncharted Seas?
Nah, that time period doesn't appeal to me. I think all the love from the 90s and the early 2000s, people obsessed with pirates and ninjas burnt me out on that. Because all the people who are all into the pirate stuff were insufferable. And the people all into the ninjas were retarded.
I did review Uncharted Seas. I because I'm running a high seas game. Man, Miguel is like one of the best.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I mean, I do.
because they're
What
blackballed. That's why. They're foreign, they're Portuguese, which right there with a lot of the American public is an immediate turnoff. It's just how it is, right? And they're blackballed from the largest source for everything is. And there is an active group within the hobby sphere that makes sure that they're blocked everywhere they go because they hate their guts.
but the biggest source isn't drive through; it's Amazon.
They won't do Amazon because they have to censor. It will not self-censor.
But Amazon doesn't actually have as much censoring as you think.
I know. I've mentioned it 3 or 4 times to him. Just put it on Amazon.
Because their work is some of the best I've ever seen. You know, from going all the way back, the attention to detail that Miguel puts in is just stunning.
Yeah. They do the research. He does the research, and he puts out a product, and it's good. It's consistently good. That's even better. That is so rare in our hobby, being consistently good. Because
And
the people who put out good stuff do it over such a wide span. And here, every 2 months, you have a new product. You have a new, and everybody's saying, we don't need systems. We need settings. Here's endless settings. Nah, it's not really. It's like dealing with a bunch of women, right? We need this. I want this. Here it is. I'm not really happy with it.
it's a shame
I don't
because
get it. I don't get it.
some of the best, and you know I like helping them out. Just you know I'm torn between which is the next thing I'm gonna check out of theirs on the channel. You know,
I was thinking about, I watched Streets of Fire the other day, and I was inspired to do an alternate history 50s using the interbellum rules, which is making it hard boiled like 50s with alternate history and Zeppelins and stuff. And it's just really gritty noir, street level. Like the 50s, if they were like the 50s, but like had a dark underpinning, everything was like gritty and hateful. Like, you know. I kind of.
very Mike Hammer.
Yeah. Have you seen Streets of Fire?
No, maybe.
I love it. It was a rock opera. It was supposed to be a trilogy, but they only did one movie and it flopped. But it's kind of a cult thing. I love it. I wish they did make all 3 of the movies.
Is it on Tubi?
I believe so, but if it isn't, I'll give you. You have Get Movies Anywhere. I'll give you my login information. You can see all the movies. It's all, I own it, so you can watch it.
Yeah, because right now I'm trying to find some stuff to watch with the boy over the summer, as well as doing research for the cop game, and everything I want, I just can't find without having to pay for it. And like, what people are asking for, you know, digitally, you know, like Amazon. I was looking for Miami Vice.
Yeah.
I can get the entire box set for like $35.
On Fandango, my rule is $5 to $8. I don't spend more than that ever. $5 to $8 is the bundle, and so when I look at, I go every week. And you know what? I hate to say this, it is satisfying my nostalgia and me missing being able to go to the video store and walk through the aisles of new releases. I do that with the $5 on sale thing at Fandango. Voodoo.
What is that? I've only heard of it.
You buy digital rights to stream movies. I know these days it's going to bite me in the ass, but I'm like, I don't spend $5 at a time. Who cares? What it would cost to rent it, like if I went to a rental place from the past and rent it. So to me, it satisfies that itch to every Friday flip through the $5 movies.
Okay, I thought it was like a physical product.
No. I don't have the room to stack up DVDs and Blu-rays, nor the.
I really don't have that many right now, and I found that, like for example, I picked up the Police's complete 4 albums that came with a bunch of stuff. It's called Message in a Box. I got it for like $10 used, right? Well, now I can take all 5 of the CDs that I have, that took up way more space, and toss them or give them. You know, because I can't make any money selling them, and it's not worth my time. But I can go, hey, here, have some free
There
CDs.
is a return to physical media, so you might be surprised. Wouldn't be a lot of profit margin, but you could probably make some. I have like 30 DVDs up in my attic. That's it. I found some on a bookshelf back here, and
Yeah, it's about what I have right now, maybe 50,
yeah,
including track.
my buddy's like, well, what are you going to do if X happens? I'm like, if X happens and the internet's cut off, then my ability to enjoy entertainment is nil because I'm in survival mode. I'm in shit at the
Yeah,
fan mode. That stuff's gone. Who cares? Who cares? It was frivolous entertainment and nostalgia. Therefore, it needs to be removed from your life in times of trouble.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the last thing you're going to have time to do is get on the pedal powered generator, Sun and Green style, and power up the DVD player. Uh,
Exactly. Those things do
you're
cost power.
doing other things. Skinning raccoons and chipmunks for food.
I'd
Not
probably be more vegetarian than I'd want to be, or eat more fish because I'd have to go. You'd have to bug out to an area that has a wildlife to support a family. You need 5 acres. You only need 1 acre to support a family for permaculture. But 5 acres, you get extra, and extra helps you through the hard times. And that's what you want.
but it allows you to can or jar or
Mhm.
preserve. You know, which could be incredibly valuable in a trading bartering situation.
The other skill that is incredibly valuable in that for currency is learning how to make alcohol. When
Oh
everything
God,
when everything falls apart, that becomes money. Because men, they'll trade you the extra for the alcohol for show.
not only that, but keep your ass alive.
Hmm.
It's like, hey, I'm the only one who knows how to work the still.
Yeah, anybody without skills is expendable.
Yeah,
People are resources, but if you're not able to work the field and you don't have a extra skill, then to a warlord, you're just meat that's wasting his time. Or as our global lizard people say, useless eaters.
yep.
Hate to think that way, but I mean that's how some people in that situation will think, like
Yeah,
monsters.
that's another reason why I got to get the fuck out of California, because I'm like top speed. I'm 10 minutes away from Skunk Works.
Yeah,
Anything bad happens, and I'll just see a bright light, and that'll be it.
I live 15 minutes from the largest inland refinery in the United States. 10 minutes maybe. It's a hit. It's a target. It's still a nuclear target. All the refineries are mainly in Louisiana on the Gulf Coast, and the one inland, right down the street, Marathon.
Yikes.
We know it's nuked. We used to have Armco, which was one of the last large steel producers, right? And they leveled it, so that's no longer a target. But Middleton is 3 hours down the road. That's where they moved everything to, down to Cincinnati. So this area here would probably hit a few nukes. Rest of the state, southeastern Kentucky, places like that, where I would bug out to, there's no military level targets. There's lots of livable land after the people die off, unfortunately. Go back up to the hills.
God, Cal, I'm just looking over some of the comments. That's so sad about your local game store. Wow, I would never walk back in there again. God, that's terrible. I don't. I'm grateful I'm not going to live long enough to see these people when they finally snap in realization all at the same time that they were, tricked or coerced or
They'll never
foolish.
admit it. That's the problem with such levels of delusion. They never admit it. They just double down or they self delete. It's a
Right. Well,
self-solving problem because the craziest and the fringe that opposes what we view as a good moral foundation to build a nation are self-sterilizing or not reproducing.
yeah.
So
It,
it's a generational war now.
Yeah, exactly. Jackie hates my personal, uh, outlook on the deletion of the unborn. It's like, hey, I can't do anything to stop it, so I'm going to look at the bright side. There's a whole bunch of people that won't be voting a certain way.
Well, I'm staunchly pro-life. Everybody's capable of redemption. So
Right,
I'm
but
probably more along with the boy on that than you are. I'm staunchly that we shouldn't be murdering children because that creates
absolutely,
the death
absolutely.
that permeates.
If there was something I could do to keep people from doing that, I would absolutely do it in a
Yeah.
heartbeat. But when the people, what I'm talking about, 1,000 miles away are doing it, I'm never going to meet them or even know
Well,
they exist.
in the states, you're stuck with it, and for one reason, because we allow women to vote, and that because women vote, you'll never get rid of abortion.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and it's funny because
to vote to kill their children.
The ones who are so pro it have no chance of ever needing that service.
Even the ones who will never get one will vote for it,
Yeah,
just in case.
it, but I mean, when there's like zero chance, I mean, no chance in hell that's ever going to happen. Why care?
Looking ahead to the next one, 14, lycanthropy, the progress of the disease, robots as players in Metamorphosis Alpha, and then some reviews. Doesn't look all that thick, to be honest.
They probably cut back a little because it's now a monthly, and they figure, okay, we can make it smaller because we're just going to put out another one next month.
And then you have the winners of the first Name That Monster contest. A little bit more information, so you'll like that. A thing about Space Marines.
Cool. I was about getting ready to pick up that original game, not the GW version, just because I found a copy that nobody knows about in a
Yeah.
weird place, and I'm like, yeah, just hold on to it for me for a minute, and I'll give you the ridiculous sum that you're asking because you know it's kind of I was always a big fan of the original GW stuff before they lost their fucking minds.
There's an interview with the Rust Monster. This might be interesting.
You mean interview?
An interview with the Rust Monster is what it says.
Oh, I thought you said energy. I'm like, energy with a rush monster. What?
Translated into column by Michael McCreary, excerpt from an interview with the Rust Monster. That might be an interesting read. Some Starship models I've never seen before or don't remember. And as I tab through it, Monty Hall and His Friends at Play by James Ward. Oh, man.
I actually have over here the original Monty Hall dungeon module.
That's interesting. It's interesting. I'll give you a link to that dragon here shortly. So
Cool. So we're doing this again next Thursday?
That's let me double check. I believe so.
Okay. I'll be
But
there.
the 12th, yes. The 19th, no, because I'll be in Watoga. That's the week we're taking the kids up to. So we're taking my grandkids up to Watoga State Park in the Monongahela State Forest in West Virginia, right? It's going to be like 20 or 30 minutes from that place where there's no Wi-Fi allowed at the big ditches. But the mating, in the Smokies where you can get this huge list where all the fireflies sync up when they mate. They all light at the same time, and they go out at the same time. There's a huge, it's in the Smokies. It's a big thing. There's whole documentaries on it. Lesser known, it happens also in Watoga with no people, without the people problem. So we're taking the grandkids up there, the older ones, for 3 days for that, and hit all those state parks up there that we like, the Cranberry Bogs, Beartown, and some other state park stuff, maybe Blackwater Falls. And definitely Blackwater Falls. We're taking them to the falls because that's a cool place.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Make sure you take some videos of that too.
I will. I'll try. I typically, when I have the grandkids, do less of that because I'm more involved with them. But I need to because I have a whole channel. I got all these little different playlists, and I do the travel stuff on there. Oh, and I finally picked me up a cam for my car for when we drive some of these back roads. So those will be up there too.
Well, if you're going to do that, there's some friends of mine, Mike and Jen from Married with Gaming,
Yeah.
and Mike came up with this absolutely genius thing where he and his wife they're road tripping, right? But they tell this little narrative of how they're they exist in after the apocalypse, and they're traveling the road, um, and the little things that they pick up, they're kind of role playing as they're driving, basically, like in a Mad Max world, and how many hit points they're losing from their encounters, as they describe, meeting up with the different shop owners and stuff like that. It was absolutely so awesome, that oh my god, it was just, you got
My
to go
wife
check it
will
out.
definitely not do that.
Pardon?
My wife will definitely not do that. She is not a gamer
Oh,
inside or nothing.
all he did was he put the dash cam
Yeah.
and then and filmed it and then narrated over it. Wrote up some stuff.
Now,
And
if it's got, I haven't double checked if it's got a microphone, but if I can get that going with me gigging my wife and getting her all fired up, that'll be hilarious. Because she can be pretty damn witty. So our little when we kind of like dig at each other was funny.
check it out. Check out Married with Children and their road trip.
I don't know.
It was just, it was so fun, and I don't know why someone hadn't done it before. Maybe they have, but he did it. He's got a really good voice for it.
I
And
watch a lot of travel stuff, and there's a lot of them out
you're
there.
gonna love it. You're gonna love
It's
it.
Appalachia or state parks or hiking. I watch a lot of that stuff because I find it interesting, at least as background noise. But yeah, we've gone long today just chit chatting, but there's one big gap. We missed each other.
Yeah. And Tanner, I don't know what.
His internet was dog shit, man.
I hope it's going to be better for tonight's book review, Three Hearts, Three Lions, because I got some words about this story.
You know, man. I liked it. It's a good story, but it's definitely a product of its time. I mean, and I do like the fact that the Fae are not the good guys. They're not.
I that's part of my not. It's part of the problem, but not what you think. I just don't like these kinds of stories to begin with. But we had to knock it out because it's right there at the top of the appendix. And I'm glad I still have like 3 hours left to listen to, so that's what I'm going to know. But it's not my cup of tea at all. But
All right. Good review. We'll do issue 14 next Thursday at noon. And then the week after that, we'll take a little break because I'm going to be off doing stuff.
and
I'll be able to keep doing this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good seeing you again, man.
No problem. Y'all take care. Game well, game often.
Happy trails.
Have fun. Happy trails.